Ladies and gentlemen, Primetime CP23 here, back with another Demon Hunter build guide for Diablo 3, patch 2.5, also known as Season 10. Today, we're going to be going over the Unhallowed Essence Grenades build. This is probably a little bit different than the meta version of this build. Last season, I remember seeing some videos saying that Unhallowed Essence Grenade builds can climb pretty high, and that it was one of the top builds in Season 9. This is not going to be one of the top builds of Season 10. For several reasons. This is almost a just early season speed build. It does clear pretty fast. It does not have a spender, only a generator. And let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, we're going to be using 5 pieces of the Unhallowed Essence set with a Ring of Royal Grandeur in the cube to get us that 6-piece bonus. We're going to be wearing the headpiece, shoulders, chest piece, pants, and boots for the Unhallowed Essence set. And by the way, a lot of my pieces I did not re-roll, and so they're still going to say multi-shot damage, so I actually have plus 94% multi-shot damage and a build that does not use multi-shots, so just keep that in mind. A lot of the gear I just didn't re-roll. It could probably do a little better if I rolled off the multi-shot damage for other things, but we'll get more into that here in just a minute. The reason why we are not wearing the full 6-piece set is because we want Mage Fist for our gloves. I'm actually really frustrated. I had one really well rolled Mage Fist that was actually significantly better than this one, and I accidentally cubed it instead of the poorly rolled ones. They were actually rolled a lot worse than these ones that I'm wearing. And then, just because that's going to give us an extra up to 20% damage increase on that Mage Fist for fire damage, which all we do is fire damage with Grenade Cache and Vengeance. We use fire runes on both. We'll get more into that here in a minute. For the weapon, I didn't really have any particular weapon to use. Nothing that I saw particularly buffed grenade damage or really had anything good to do with grenade damage. So I just picked a random two-handed crossbow that I had laying around. This one is 59% chance to shoot explosive bolts when attacking. And it does do fire damage, so whatever, we'll go with that. This is the reason why we have so much multi-shot damage. This was just the only quiver I had laying around that gives us, that was already rolled for cooldown, and I didn't feel like re-rolling anything else. So I'm sure there are better quivers for this build than this Dead Man's Legacy, but this is the one we're using for right now. For the belt, we're going with the Hellcat Waist Guard. Grenades have a chance to bounce 4 times. This is on a loop between 3 and 5, and it deals 50% extra damage on each bounce, and the final bounce is up to 800% additional damage. We're going with the Wraps of Clarity as our bracers. That you want to make sure and get one that gives you additional fire damage. And this makes so that your hatred generators reduces your damage taken by 35%. Of course, the grenade skill is a primary skill, and it is a generator, so that's going to mean that basically we have plus 35% damage reduction at all times. For our amulet, we're using Halcyon's Ascent. Words are fun. Again, I just didn't have an amulet that I particularly wanted to use in this build. For top damage, the best version of this build is probably going to be running a Traveler's Pledge and Compass Rose, but I didn't want to do that in this particular build because I want this to be a more early season build. I chose the Simplicity Strength gem, and I just leveled this up to rank 25, just so that it does have the secondary effect. And then I'm using a Stone of Jordan rolled with fire damage, and I do have a Gogok of Swiftness in there. It's a rank 67 Gogok of Swiftness, so it's a pretty high rolled one, but whatever. Doesn't really matter. The important part is the cooldown reduction for each stack. Because of the way that this build is playing, you will always have the full 15 stacks. And then we've got a Convention of Elements with a rank 0 Bane of the Trapped in it, just because the only other Bane of the Trapped I had is rank, I think, 88 or something. Or no, I think it's an 80, never mind. But either way, again, I didn't want this to be a particularly difficult build to gear for, so I just grabbed the lowest ranked Bane of the Trapped I had, which was a 0. This Gogok Swiftness, because all we really care about is the cooldown reduction. I mean, the attack speed and the dodge is nice, but we really care about the cooldown reduction. You can really do this with just a rank 25 Gogok. In the cube, we're running Dawn, of course, because pretty much every Demon Hunter runs Dawn, because it's excellent. This is a generator build with no spender, so we are using the Aquila Cuirass. For full glass cannon mode, you can use Depth Diggers instead to squeeze out extra damage, and it is a significant amount of extra damage, but personally, I don't like being squishy, and with an Aquila Cuirass, we're still going to melt T10. Haha, get it? Melt? Because we're using fire damage. Yeah, you can facepalm if you want, that's fine. And then for the ring, we're using the Ring of Royal Grandeurs again, so that we can get the full 6-piece bonus for the Unhallowed Essence set. For full glass cannon mode, and for full speed, you could probably swap out to Depth Diggers and replace Wraps of Clarity with Nemesis Bracers rolled with fire damage. But, I mean, that would be really, really, really squishy. So, I prefer it like this. Like I said, we're still going to tear through T10. I've been doing T10 Greater Rifts in an average of 5.5 to 6 minutes. And the important part here, as always, you want to keep your cooldown above 30% so that you can have full uptime on Vengeance. I think the number is actually about 35% that you need to have on your sheet to have permanent uptime on Vengeance. But between the 33% sheet cooldown and our Gogok of Swiftness, we basically have full uptime on Vengeance. Next is fire damage. We want a lot of extra fire damage. In this case, we have fire damage on our amulet, bracers, and ring for Stone of Jordan. And then, of course, when... That's the thing, is there are two circumstances when this build completely melts your enemies. Those two circumstances are A, when your convention element rolls around to fire damage, and B, when your Hellcat Waistguard makes the grenade bounce 4 full times. When either of those two things happen, everything around you is dead, even on T10. And then, like I said, I have a bunch of extra multi-shot damage that we don't actually need. So, alrighty. As for Paragon points, you should... Actually, I really should have done this earlier, because you want to max out Hatred and movement speed, and then dump everything into Dexterity. For offense, I would say cooldown, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, resist all, life, and armor, and then area damage, life per hit, and resource cost reduction. Resource cost reduction, all that's going to do is make it so that you can vault faster and more efficiently. So, let's go ahead and look at the skills. For grenades, we're using the Grenade Cache skill, or rune rather, to throw 2 additional grenades. You could also use cluster grenades, that works also. As you can see, this is what cluster grenades looks like, and I mean, it's good. That will do very well at destroying everything. Personally, though, I prefer the Grenade Cache rune because it splits up the damage. It splits up where everything's coming from. I chose Shadow Power just for a little bit of extra tankiness in case, you know, you're stuck in the middle of an explosion that's about to go off or whatever. I chose the Gloom rune for Shadow Power to reduce damage. Vengeance, we're going to be using the Personal Mortar rune because it is fire damage, and then instead of firing rockets, it's going to throw grenades, which works well with our Hellcat Waistguard. Vault, we're going to be using the Tumble rune to reduce the discipline cost right after you vault so that you can vault all around. We're going to be using Marked for Death with the Grim Reaper rune. You could also use Valley for Death, but I personally like Grim Reaper because that deals extra damage to the thing that you mark and to enemies near it. And then Wolf Companion for additional attack. Additional damage, rather. Using the Ambush passive to deal extra damage to enemies above 75%. The Cull the Weak. The Grenadier passive is very important because it increases the damage and explosion size of your grenades. And then the Awareness passive for just in case. Instead of Cull the Weak, you could use I'm sorry, I have no idea where I was going with that thought, so never mind. Let's go ahead and jump into a rift real quick, and my frames are dropping. I'm glad I noticed that before we went into the game. Bear with me here. Okay, that's better. Okay, so let's jump into a Torment 10 game. GR 45 is Torment 10. And I will show you the basic skills. So as soon as you jump in, you want to make sure that you are... I feel like I'm lagging. I really hope that's not actually lagging that bad. Why am I moving so slowly? I'm having some technical difficulties here. Oh, I have 0% move speed bonus. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and leave game, and we'll come back and try this again, because obviously I didn't click apply when I was redoing my passives, or my Paragon points, rather. Sorry about that little technical difficulty there. I apologize. Okay, that's better. Let's try this again. As soon as you pop into a rift, you want to hit Vengeance and start attacking things. The way that this works in here, it didn't even pop my second life, and I intentionally just stood there and took that. So, I mean, that shows you this build is pretty tough. It's pretty tanky, which personally I really like, because I don't like dying. That also means that this build should be pretty good for hardcore players, which I do not play hardcore because I'm a little punk, and also I don't know, I just feel like I'm not good enough at the game to like risk my character's life like that. Maybe at some point I'll get into playing hardcore, I don't know. So the way that I personally do this, I don't even ever let off the attack button. I just hold my left thumb. I still feel like I'm moving really slowly. Anyway, I just hold my my index finger on my left mouse click so that I'm constantly attacking, and then I am always holding my shift bar, which is my force stop. I don't actually know what it's called exactly, but it's what prevents me from moving unless I tell it to move. I do this so that then I'm always either attacking or vaulting, except of course when I'm, you know, having to do careful movements to pick up health globes and such, or rift progression globes rather. Shadow Power is basically a oh shit button, and you rarely need to use it because this build is so tanky. Anytime you see an elite, you instantly hit marked for death. You always want to make sure that Vengeance is up. If you do feel like you're running behind on time, you can jump ahead just by vaulting and try and find an elite pack. On T10, you're not going to fall behind, though. You can literally just go just like this and basically kill everything in the rift. Everything that you see, you're going to kill. Because you can. You have enough damage to do that. And on T10, everything is weak enough that you're just going to kill it. So, but if you do start falling behind, if you're not paying attention and you have a death or something, you can always just vault directly to elite packs, because you do have the tumble rune on. So you're able to kind of run around pretty effectively. Make sure when you first enter a rift, you attack a lot so that you're getting your Gogok stacks up, so that your vengeance doesn't fall off. And you want to make sure that you keep some distance from your enemies so that your Unhallowed Essence buff stays active. Also, like I said, since I am using pretty low-level gems, this is going a little slower than it should. If you want to make this into a legitimate T10 farming build, or if you want to use it for bounties or anything, all you need to do is just make sure that you have decent level gems in, and you will tear through everything. Fire rotation, so we're just going ham. And he's dead, just like that. With no spender, all generator. Well, let's go ahead and... I don't know. I'm... Wow. Used all 5, got nothing. Oh well. I guess that's what I get for trying to level up a level 47 gem on a GR 45. It's kind of my own fault. So let's check the time there. 6 minutes 55 seconds. So that was a little bit slower because I was not in full glass cannon mode. Because I didn't want to die on the recording. It did slow me down just a little bit, but I mean, a sub 7 minute GR 45 is still not terrible. So ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to go ahead and call that the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it has kind of showed you another somewhat viable build for Demon Hunters. Make sure to stay tuned for future videos. We will have more Demon Hunter videos coming very, very soon. I think my next video is going to be the multi-shot Unhallowed Essence set. But I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying grenades. I might go ahead and do a Marauders grenades build next. We will just have to see. So ladies and gentlemen, until next time, this is Primetime CP23, and I'm out.